The snow fell thick and silent over Hanseong International University, coating the marble steps in white, while luxury sedans lined the entrance like dark jewels. Students in designer coats rushed through the automatic doors, shaking cold from their shoulders as they filled the grand seminar hall. In the back corner, clutching her worn laptop bag, Naa Ayeley Mensah navigated through the crowd, her breath fogging in the frigid air. She didn't see him, Seo Ji-Hwan, Seoul's most untouchable heir, until she collided with his table. His custom laptop crashed to the floor. The screen splintered. The hall went silent. He stood slowly, his dark eyes cold as winter itself, and said one word that made everyone freeze. "Kneel. Please like, share and subscribe." Naa Ayeley stared at the shattered laptop on the polished floor, her heart hammering against her ribs. Around her, at least 50 students had stopped moving. Some held their phones up already, recording. Others whispered behind their hands. Seo Ji-Hwan stood before her in a charcoal coat that probably cost more than her entire semester's living expenses. His face was unervingly calm, but his eyes burned with something sharp and unforgiving. "I said kneel," he repeated, his voice soft but absolute. "Pick up every piece. Apologize properly." Naa Ayeley's fingers curled into fists at her sides. Her throat felt tight, but she forced herself to meet his gaze. It was an accident. An accident? One of his friends, a boy with bleached hair and a smirk, laughed from the front row. "You just destroyed a 30 million won custom build." 30 million won. Naa Ayeley's stomach dropped. That was nearly her entire scholarship for the year. Ji-Hwan tilted his head slightly, studying her like something curious and irritating. "You're the scholarship student from Ghana, aren't you?" The way he said it made her skin prickle. Not a question, a label. She lifted her chin. "My name is Naa Ayeley Mensah." "I didn't ask for your name," he said coolly. "I asked you to kneel." The hall seemed to hold its breath. Naa Ayeley felt heat crawl up her neck. Not from shame, but from anger so fierce it made her hands shake. She had worked 4 years to get here. She had studied Korean until her eyes bled. She had left her family, her country, everything familiar, to prove she belonged in spaces like this. And this arrogant, silver spoon prince wanted her to kneel? She bent down slowly. His smirk widened. Then she picked up the largest piece of the laptop, stood back up, and met his eyes. "Jongmal Mayan Hamnida," she said in perfect, formal Korean. "But if you weren't sitting in the middle of the walkway like you own the entire university, maybe your expensive toy wouldn't be broken." The hall erupted. Students gasped. Someone laughed nervously. Ji-Hwan's friends stared at her like she just slapped him. And Ji-Hwan himself, for the first time in years, felt his face flush with something unfamiliar. Embarrassment. His jaw tightened. "You think speaking Korean makes you clever?" "I think," Naa Ayeley said quietly, "that expecting someone to kneel makes you cruel." She set the broken piece on his table, turned on her heel, and walked out of the seminar hall with her head high and her heart racing so fast she thought she might collapse. Behind her, she heard his friend mutter, "Hyung, are you going to let her talk to you like that?" And Ji-Hwan, still staring at the door she'd left through, said nothing at all. Later that evening, Naa Ayeley sat alone in the 4th-floor library, her hands still trembling as she tried to finish her essay on cross-cultural communication theory. The irony wasn't lost on her. Her phone buzzed. It was her roommate, May, a Taiwanese student who lived 2 doors down. "Girl, you're all over the group chats. Did you really snap at Seo Ji-Hwan?" Naa Ayeley closed her eyes and exhaled slowly. Another buzz. "People are saying he's going to make your life hell." She didn't doubt it. 3 days later, Naa Ayeley learned exactly what hell looked like when you embarrassed Seoul's golden heir. Started small. She arrived at her usual study table in the library to find it suddenly reserved by a group of girls who'd never spoken to her before. When she tried to sit in the cafe, conversations stopped. Eyes followed her. Whispers trailed behind her like smoke. Then it escalated. In her international media ethics class, the professor assigned group projects. Naa Ayeley watched as students partnered off quickly, deliberately avoiding her gaze. She sat alone at her desk, humiliation burning in her chest, until the professor called her name. Miss Mensah, you'll be working with Seo Ji-Hwan. Her head snapped up. Across the room, Ji-Hwan leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. His friends snickered. Professor, Ji-Hwan said smoothly, I'd prefer to work alone. This is a partner project, Mr. Seo, the professor replied firmly. You'll work together or you'll both fail. The muscle in Ji-Hwan's jaw ticked, but he said nothing. Naa Ayeley felt her stomach twist into knots. After class, she gathered her things quickly, trying to escape before he could corner her. But as she stepped into the hallway, a voice stopped her cold. Running away already? She turned. Ji-Hwan stood with his hands in his pockets, his two closest friends flanking him like sentries. The bleached-haired one, she'd learned his name was Kim Taeyong, grinned at her like a wolf. Listen, Naa Ayeley said evenly. I'll do the project myself and put your name on it. You don't have to even. You think I'd trust you with my grade? Ji-Hwan's voice was soft, almost amused. No, we'll work together. Every day. Starting tonight. I'm busy tonight. Cancel it. Her temper flared. You can't just. I can. He stepped closer, and she hated how her pulse jumped. Or you can explain to the professor why you're refusing to collaborate. I'm sure that'll look great for a scholarship student. Taeyong laughed. She probably has to go work her part-time job, Hyung. Let her go. Naa Ayeley's hands curled into fists. She did work part-time at a small restaurant near Hongdae, but the way he said it made it sound shameful. 8 p.m., Ji-Hwan said, ignoring his friend. Library, 3rd floor. Don't be late. He walked past her without waiting for an answer, his expensive cologne lingering in the air. Naa Ayeley stood frozen in the hallway, fury and dread warring in her chest. That night, she arrived at the library at 7:55 p.m., refusing to give him the satisfaction of her being late. Ji-Hwan was already there, seated at a private study room with his laptop open and a coffee in hand. He didn't look up when she entered. Sit, he said. She sat, spine straight, and pulled out her notebook. For 10 minutes, they worked in tense silence. He typed. She researched. Neither spoke. Finally, Ji-Hwan broke the quiet. The project is a cultural documentary. We're supposed to explore identity and belonging in modern Seoul. I read the assignment, Naa Ayeley said curtly. Good. Then you'll understand why this is going to be unbearable for both of us. She looked up sharply. If you have something to say, just say it. His dark eyes finally met hers, and the intensity there made her breath catch. You embarrassed me. You tried to humiliate me first. You destroyed my property. And I apologized. In the most disrespectful way possible. His voice was still calm, but there was an edge beneath it now. You don't know how things work here, do you? Naa Ayeley leaned forward, her voice low and sharp. I know that just because your family has money doesn't mean you get to treat people like dirt. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or anger. She couldn't tell. You think I'm cruel, he said softly. I think you're spoiled. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. And you're proud. I have reason to be. Do you? He tilted his head. You're alone here. No friends. No connections. You're already being iced out, and it's only been 3 days. How long do you think you'll last? The words hit harder than she wanted to admit, but she refused to let him see it. Long enough to finish this project and never speak to you again, she said coldly. Ji-Hwan studied her for a long moment, something unreadable passing through his eyes. Then he returned to his laptop. Fine. We'll start filming this weekend. Naa Ayeley nodded stiffly and looked down at her notes, her heart pounding. She didn't notice the way his gaze flickered back to her when she wasn't looking. The following week, they fell into a brutal routine. They met 3 times a week to plan the documentary. Every session was a battle, sharp comments, cold silences, and arguments over every creative decision. Naa Ayeley insisted they interview immigrant students about belonging and identity. Ji-Hwan argued they should focus on traditional Korean perspectives. That's the whole point, Naa Ayeley snapped during one particularly heated argument. Belonging isn't just about tradition. It's about people who don't fit the mold. And you think you're qualified to speak on that? Ji-Hwan shot back. More than you. His eyes narrowed. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. Really? He leaned forward, his voice dropping. Tell me then. What do you know? Naa Ayeley hesitated, caught off guard by the sudden intensity in his tone. But before she could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression shuddering instantly. We're done for tonight, he said flatly, standing and gathering his things. We still need to. I said we're done. He left without another word, leaving Naa Ayeley staring after him, frustration simmering in her chest. 2 weeks into the project, the first snow of December fell heavy and thick over Seoul. Naa Ayeley stood outside the university's media building, waiting for Ji-Hwan to arrive for their scheduled filming session. They were supposed to interview a group of international students about their experiences in Korea. But an hour passed and he didn't show. She called him twice. No answer. Furious, she was about to leave when her phone finally buzzed. Something came up. Reschedule. No apology. No explanation. Naa Ayeley stared at the message, her anger flaring white-hot. She had rearranged her work shift for this. She had confirmed with the interviewees. And he just didn't show? Fine. She'd do it herself. She spent the next 3 hours conducting interviews alone, filming on her phone, taking notes until her fingers were numb from the cold. By the time she finished, it was nearly midnight. The snow had gotten worse, and the buses had stopped running. She pulled her coat tighter and started walking toward her dormitory, her breath fogging in the icy air. Halfway there, a sleek black car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. Ji-Hwan sat in the driver's seat, his expression unreadable. Get in. I'd rather freeze, Naa Ayeley said without stopping. The car rolled forward slowly, matching her pace. Don't be stupid. It's below freezing. Then leave me alone. Naa Ayeley. Her name on his lips made her stop despite herself. Get in the car. She turned to glare at him. You didn't show up. You didn't even apologize. Why do you suddenly care if I freeze? Something shifted in his face. Guilt, maybe. I had something I couldn't avoid, right? Something more important. Yes. The bluntness of it stung more than it should have. Naa Ayeley turned and kept walking. Behind her, she heard the car door open. Footsteps crunched in the snow. Then Ji-Hwan was in front of her, blocking her path. Up close, she realized he looked different, tired. His usually perfect hair was slightly disheveled, and there were shadows under his eyes. Move, she said. I'm sorry. The words were so quiet she almost didn't hear them. She stared at him, stunned. I should have called earlier, he continued, his voice low. I should have rescheduled properly. I'm sorry. Naa Ayeley didn't know what to say. She'd been prepared for arrogance, for cruelty, for indifference. Not this. Why didn't you show? She asked finally. His jaw tightened. Family obligation. The way he said it made it sound like a prison sentence. She studied his face, seeing something raw and unguarded there for just a moment before he shuttered it again. Did you do the interviews? He asked. Yes. Alone? Yes. He exhaled slowly, his breath misting in the cold. Show me tomorrow. Then he stepped aside. Naa Ayeley walked past him, her heart doing something strange and unfamiliar in her chest. Behind her, she heard him get back in the car. But he didn't drive away. He followed her slowly, headlights cutting through the snow, until she reached her dormitory safely. Only then did he leave. The next day, Naa Ayeley showed him the footage. Ji-Hwan watched in silence, his expression focused and intent. When the final interview ended, he leaned back in his chair. This is good, he said quietly. She blinked. What? The interviews. Your questions. The framing. He looked at her, something almost like respect in his eyes. It's better than what I would have done. Naa Ayeley didn't know how to respond. Compliments from Seo Ji-Hwan felt like conversing in a foreign language. We should do more, he continued. But together this time. So you'll actually show up? His lips twitched. Almost a smile. Yes. Promise. I don't make promises. Then how do I know you won't bail again? Ji-Hwan met her gaze, and for a moment, the air between them felt different. Charged. You don't, he said softly. You'll just have to trust me. Naa Ayeley didn't trust him, but against every instinct, she nodded. Over the next 2 weeks, something shifted. They filmed together across Seoul. In markets, cafes, parks dusted with snow. They interviewed students from Nigeria, the Philippines, Vietnam, China. Stories of loneliness and resilience, of searching for home in a country that didn't always welcome them. And slowly, painfully, Ji-Hwan and Naa Ayeley began to understand each other. She learned that he hated the way his father controlled every aspect of his life, that he was expected to take over the family construction empire whether he wanted to or not, that every friendship he had was transactional, built on wealth and status. He learned that she sent most of her part-time earnings back to her family in Accra, that she studied Korean for 2 years before coming to Seoul because she refused to be underestimated, that she was lonely in ways she'd never admit out loud. They still argued, but the arguments felt different now, less like battles, more like conversations where neither wanted to back down. One cold evening, they were editing footage in the library when Ji-Hwan's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his entire body tensed. I need to take this, he muttered, stepping out. Through the glass wall, Naa Ayeley watched him answer. His shoulders were rigid, his expression blank. When he returned 10 minutes later, he looked exhausted. You okay? She asked before she could stop herself. Fine. You don't look fine. His eyes cut to hers, sharp and defensive. Then, unexpectedly, he sighed and sank into the chair beside her. My father wants me to quit the project, he said quietly. Naa Ayeley's stomach dropped. What? Why? He thinks it's a waste of time. Says I should focus on business courses, networking, things that actually matter. Ji-Hwan's voice was bitter. He doesn't care that this is the only class I actually like. Are you going to quit? He looked at her, and something complicated passed through his expression. No. Why not? You always do what he says. Don't you? Usually. His gaze held hers. But not this time. The weight of those words settled between them, heavy and meaningful. Why? Naa Ayeley asked softly. Ji-Hwan didn't answer, but the way he looked at her made her heart race. 3 days before winter break, a massive snowstorm hit Seoul. Naa Ayeley and Ji-Hwan had planned to film their final interview segment in Bukshin-Hanok village, hoping to capture the contrast between traditional architecture and modern immigrant experiences. The weather report had called for light snow. It lied. By the time they finished filming, the snow was falling so thick they could barely see 3 feet ahead. The buses had stopped. The subways were delayed. And the temperatures were plummeting. We need to find shelter, Ji-Hwan said, his voice tight. They ended up in a small traditional guest house run by an elderly woman who took pity on them. She had only 1 room available. It's this or freezing, the woman said in rapid Korean. Ji-Hwan paid without hesitation. The room was small and warm, with ondol floor heating and a single sleeping mat. Naa Ayeley stood awkwardly by the door while Ji-Hwan set down their equipment. I'll sleep on the floor, he said. It's your money. You take the mat. I'm not going to. Ji-Hwan. She looked at him. Just take the mat. He stared at her. Something conflicted in his eyes, then nodded. They sat on opposite sides of the room as the wind howled outside. The silence stretched, tense and uncertain. Finally, Naa Ayeley spoke. Can I ask you something? What? Why were you so cruel to me? That first day. Ji-Hwan was quiet for a long time. When he finally answered, his voice was low. Because you didn't look at me like everyone else does. She frowned. What do you mean? Everyone at that university either wants something from me or fears me. But you. He exhaled slowly. You looked at me like I was just another person. And when you broke my laptop, I wanted you to be like everyone else. Afraid, apologetic, easy to control. His gaze met hers. But you weren't. Naa Ayeley's heart thudded in her chest. So you decided to humiliate me instead, she said quietly. Yes, that's horrible. I know. The honesty in his voice startled her. I was angry, he continued. At you, at my life, at everything. And you were there and you didn't bow and he trailed off, jaw tight. I'm not making excuses. What I did was wrong. Naa Ayeley studied him. This boy who'd made her life hell, who was now sitting across from her looking more human than she'd ever seen him. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Ji-Hwan looked at her, and the vulnerability in his eyes made her breath catch. Because you deserve the truth, he said softly. Something shifted in the air between them. The room felt smaller, warmer. I hated you, Naa Ayeley whispered. I know. I wanted to prove you wrong about me. You did. Her throat felt tight. Do you still think I don't belong here? Ji-Hwan held her gaze. I think you belong here more than I do. The words hit her like a physical thing. They stared at each other, the storm raging outside, the warmth of the room wrapping around them like a secret. And for the first time, Naa Ayeley saw Seo Ji-Hwan clearly, not as an enemy, but as something far more dangerous. The next morning, the storm had passed. They returned to campus in silence, both acutely aware that something fundamental had changed between them. But neither knew what to do about it. Winter break came and went. Naa Ayeley stayed in Seoul, working extra shifts at the restaurant and video calling her family in Accra. She tried not to think about Ji-Hwan. She failed. When spring semester started, she told herself things would go back to normal. They'd finish the project, submit it, never speak again. But the first day back, Ji-Hwan was waiting outside her morning class. We need to do final edits, he said. I can handle it. I want to help. She searched his face, looking for the cold arrogance she'd once known. But it wasn't there anymore. Fine, she said. They met that evening, and the evening after that, and the one after that. Slowly, impossibly, they stopped pretending they were just project partners. They started getting coffee together, studying in comfortable silence, texting about things that had nothing to do with the documentary. Naa Ayeley told herself it didn't mean anything. But when Ji-Hwan smiled at her, a real soft smile, her heart betrayed her every time. For weeks into the semester, everything fell apart. Naa Ayeley was leaving the library when she overheard a conversation in the stairwell. Taeyong's voice, loud and mocking. I can't believe Ji-Hwan Hyung is still hanging out with that scholarship girl. Another voice. Maybe he feels sorry for her. Or maybe it's a game. Taeyong laughed. You know how he is. He gets bored easily. Remember that girl last year? He was obsessed for 2 months, then dropped her like nothing. Naa Ayeley's blood turned to ice. Think he's messing with her? Someone asked. Probably. I mean, come on. Seo Ji-Hwan and some random African girl? His father would never allow it. He's just killing time. Their laughter echoed in the stairwell. Naa Ayeley stood frozen, her chest tight, her vision blurring. Was that all this was? A game? She didn't wait to hear more. She turned and walked out of the building, her hands shaking. That night, when Ji-Hwan texted her, she didn't reply. The next day, she avoided him. The day after that, he cornered her outside the media building. Why are you ignoring me? He demanded. I'm not. Naa Ayeley. We finished the project, didn't we? We don't need to keep pretending to be friends. His expression darkened. Pretending? Isn't that what this is? She forced herself to meet his eyes. You're bored. I'm convenient. It's fine. I get it. What are you talking about? I heard Taeyong. I know what people are saying. Ji-Hwan went very still. And you believe them? Why shouldn't I? Because... He stopped, frustration flashing across his face. Because you know me. Do I? Her voice cracked despite herself. Or do I just know the version of you that you wanted to show me? That's not fair. None of this is fair. Her voice rose. You humiliated me, Ji-Hwan. You made me a target. And now you're what? Trying to fix it by being nice? Trying to make yourself feel better. That's not what this is. Then what is it? The question hung between them, raw and desperate. Ji-Hwan stared at her, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with something she couldn't name. Forget it, he said finally, his voice cold. Believe whatever you want. He turned and walked away. Naa Ayeley stood there, her heart shattering, and told herself it was better this way. For 2 weeks they didn't speak. Naa Ayeley threw herself into her classes and her job. She ignored the hollow ache in her chest. She ignored the way she looked for him in every hallway. Ji-Hwan returned to his old group of friends, cold and untouchable once more. But something had changed. Where he used to thrive in the attention, now he looked empty. Taeyong noticed. You okay, Hyung? He asked one afternoon. Fine, Ji-Hwan said flatly. Is this about that girl? Ji-Hwan's eyes went sharp. Don't. I'm just saying you've been weird since. I said don't. Taeyong backed off, but the damage was done. That night, Ji-Hwan sat alone in his apartment, staring at his phone. He'd typed and deleted a dozen messages to Naa Ayeley. None of them said what he really wanted to say. That she wasn't a game. That she'd become the only real thing in his carefully constructed life. That he was falling for her and it terrified him. But he didn't know how to say any of it without sounding desperate or foolish. So he said nothing. And the distance between them grew. 3 weeks later, the university's spring festival arrived. The campus transformed into a sea of lights and music. Food stalls lined the pathways. Students danced under lanterns. Naa Ayeley went with May, determined to have fun and forget about a certain cold-eyed air. She was doing fine, laughing, eating tteokbokki, admiring the cherry blossoms, until she saw him. Ji-Hwan stood near the main stage, surrounded by his usual crowd. He wore a dark jacket and a carefully blank expression. Their eyes met across the crowd. Naa Ayeley's breath caught. Then someone stepped between them. A tall boy from her communications class named Daniel. He was Korean-American, friendly, easy to talk to. Hey, Daniel said, smiling. Want to check out the photo booth? Naa Ayeley hesitated, her gaze flickering back to where Ji-Hwan stood. He was watching them, his expression unreadable. Sure, she said, louder than necessary. She let Daniel lead her away, ignoring the way her heart screamed at her to stop. Behind her, Ji-Hwan's hands curled into fists. Taeyong nudged him. Isn't that the scholarship girl? Don't call her that, Ji-Hwan said quietly. Who's the guy? I don't know. You jealous, Hyung? Ji-Hwan didn't answer, but his eyes never left Naa Ayeley as she laughed at something Daniel said. Something ugly and desperate twisted in his chest. He'd spent weeks trying to convince himself that distance was better, that letting her go was the right thing to do. But watching her smile at someone else made him realize the truth. He couldn't let her go. He wouldn't. An hour later, Naa Ayeley was sitting on a bench near the edge of the festival, Daniel having left to get them drinks. She stared at the lanterns swaying in the breeze, feeling hollow. Footsteps approached. She looked up. Ji-Hwan stood before her, his expression raw and unguarded in a way that made her heart stutter. We need to talk, he said. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. Ji-Hwan. I don't care what Taeyong said. I don't care what people think. His voice was low and fierce. You're not a game to me. You never were. Naa Ayeley stood, her pulse racing. Then what am I? He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the storm in his eyes. You're the only person who's ever seen me, he said quietly. Not my name, not my money, just me. Her breath hitched. I was cruel to you because you scared me, he continued. Because I didn't know what to do with the way you made me feel. And I've spent every day since trying to prove to you, and to myself, that I'm not the person I was that first day. Ji-Hwan. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I hurt you, but his voice cracked. I can't watch you walk away. Not without telling you the truth. What truth? She whispered. He looked at her like she was the only thing in the world. That I'm in love with you. The world stopped. Naa Ayeley stared at him, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. You what? I love you, Ji-Hwan said again, steadier this time. I love the way you argue with me. I love how you refuse to back down. I love that you're brilliant and stubborn, and you don't let anyone make you feel small. He took a shaky breath. I love you, Naa Ayeley, and I don't know what to do with it. Tears burned in her eyes. You can't just say that, she whispered. Why not? Because, her voice broke. Because your father will never accept me. Because you're like I'm beneath you. Because we're from different worlds and this can't work. I don't care. You should. Why? He reached out slowly, his fingers brushing hers. Why should I care about any of that when the only thing that matters is how I feel about you? Ji-Hwan. A tear slipped down her cheek. He lifted his hand, gently wiping it away. Tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me I'm alone in this, and I'll walk away. I'll leave you alone. Naa Ayeley closed her eyes, trembling. She'd spent weeks trying to bury her feelings, trying to convince herself that he was just a spoiled boy who didn't know what he wanted. But standing here, with his hand against her cheek and his heart laid bare, she couldn't lie anymore. I can't, she whispered. His breath caught. Can't what? Can't tell you I don't feel it. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. Because I do. I feel it too. The hope that flared in his expression nearly undid her. Naa Ayeley. But that doesn't mean this will work, she said quickly. It doesn't mean. He kissed her, soft and desperate and achingly gentle. Naa Ayeley froze for half a heartbeat, then kissed him back, her hands fisting in his jacket, her heart breaking and mending all at once. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Ji-Hwan rested his forehead against hers. We'll figure it out, he whispered. Together. And for the first time in months, Naa Ayeley let herself believe him. For 3 perfect weeks, they existed in a fragile, secret bubble. They studied together, ate late-night ramen in convenience stores, walked through Seoul's quiet streets holding hands where no one from campus could see. Ji-Hwan was different when they were alone. Softer, funnier, vulnerable in ways that made Naa Ayeley's chest ache. He told her about the pressure from his father, about how every decision in his life had been made for him. She told him about the guilt she felt being so far from home, about how she sent money to her younger siblings even when it meant skipping meals. They learned each other in ways that had nothing to do with status or pride. And slowly, Naa Ayeley let herself fall completely. But reality, as always, was waiting. It came in the form of a black sedan parked outside the university's main gate. Ji-Hwan went rigid when he saw it. What's wrong? Naa Ayeley asked. My father, he said quietly. He's here. Before she could respond, the car door opened. A man in an expensive suit stepped out. Tall, severe, with Ji-Hwan's eyes but none of his warmth. Chairman Seo looked at his son, then at Naa Ayeley. His expression didn't change, but something cold settled in the air. Ji-Hwan, he said, we need to talk. I'm busy. Now. It wasn't a request. Ji-Hwan's jaw tightened, but he nodded. He glanced at Naa Ayeley, conflict warring in his eyes. I'll call you, he said quietly. She nodded, her stomach twisting with dread. As Ji-Hwan got into the car, his father's gaze lingered on her for just a moment. And in that moment Naa Ayeley knew. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Ji-Hwan didn't call that night, or the next day, or the day after that. Naa Ayeley told herself not to panic. He was probably dealing with family business. He'd reach out when he could. But 3 days turned into a week, and a week turned into 2. She texted him. No response. She went to his usual spots on campus. He wasn't there. It was like he'd vanished. Finally, she caught Taeyong outside the business building. Where's Ji-Hwan? She demanded. Taeyong looked uncomfortable. He's taking a break from school. What? Why? Family stuff. That's all I know. Taeyong. Look, he said, not unkindly. His father isn't happy about certain things. It's better if you just let it go. Naa Ayeley felt like she'd been punched. Let it go? She repeated. Yeah. Taeyong hesitated. Ji-Hwan Hyung has responsibilities. A future already planned out. He stopped. I'm what? Her voice was cold. You're not part of that plan, he said quietly. I'm sorry. He walked away, leaving Naa Ayeley standing alone in the cold. That night, her phone finally buzzed. Ji-Hwan, we need to talk. Meet me at the park near campus. 9 p.m. Naa Ayeley's hands shook as she typed back. Okay. He was already there when she arrived, standing under a street lamp with his hands in his pockets. He looked thinner, tired. Where have you been? Naa Ayeley asked, her voice tight. My father found out about us, Ji-Hwan said without preamble. Her stomach dropped. And he gave me an ultimatum. His voice was flat. End it or he'll pull his funding for the university's international program. Dozens of scholarships, including yours, gone. Naa Ayeley stared at him, the world tilting beneath her feet. He wouldn't. He would. Ji-Hwan's expression was bleak. He's already started making calls. He'll do it, Naa Ayeley. He'll destroy everything just to prove a point. So what are you saying? Her voice cracked. He finally looked at her, and the pain in his eyes nearly broke her. I'm saying we can't do this. No. She stepped forward. No, you don't get to decide that alone. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need your protection. Her voice rose. I need you to fight for us. I can't. The words exploded out of him. Don't you understand? If I fight him, he'll ruin you. He'll make sure you lose everything you've worked for. I won't let that happen. So you're just going to walk away? Tears streamed down her face. After everything? It's better this way. Better for who? For you. Don't you dare, she said, her voice shaking with fury and heartbreak. Don't you dare pretend this is for me. You're scared. You're choosing him over us because it's easier. That's not. Then prove it. She grabbed his jacket, desperate. Stay. Choose me. We'll figure it out together. There's nothing to figure out. His voice turned cold, defensive. This was always going to end. We're from different worlds, Naa Ayeley. I was stupid to think it could work. The words were designed to hurt. They succeeded. Naa Ayeley stepped back like he'd struck her. You're a coward, she whispered. Ji-Hwan flinched, but his expression remained shuttered. I'm sorry, he said. No, you're not. She turned and walked away, her heart shattering with every step. Behind her, Ji-Hwan stood frozen, his hands shaking, everything in him screaming to run after her. But he didn't, and she didn't look back. The next month was the worst of Naa Ayeley's life. She went to class. She worked. She smiled when her family called. But inside, she was hollow. She told herself she hated him, that he was exactly who she'd thought he was that first day. Cruel, selfish, a spoiled boy who only cared about himself. But late at night, when she was alone, she remembered the way he'd looked at her under the festival lights, the way he'd said her name like it was something precious. And she cried until there were no tears left. Ji-Hwan, meanwhile, was drowning. He attended the meetings his father scheduled, smiled at the business dinners, pretended everything was fine. But he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think about anything except the look on Naa Ayeley's face when he'd let her go. You're distracted, his father said one evening over dinner. I'm fine. This is about that girl. Ji-Hwan's jaw tightened. No. Good. Because she was a distraction you couldn't afford. His father's voice was matter-of-fact. You have responsibilities, a legacy to uphold. You'll thank me one day. Ji-Hwan said nothing. But that night, alone in his apartment, he pulled out his phone and scrolled through old photos. Naa Ayeley laughing at something he'd said. Naa Ayeley focused on editing their documentary. Naa Ayeley asleep on his shoulder after a long day. He stared at the images until his vision blurred. And for the first time in his life, Seo Ji-Hwan realized what his father's control had truly cost him. Everything. 6 weeks after the breakup, Naa Ayeley received an email. Her scholarship had been extended for another year. Fully funded. She stared at the message, confused. Then she saw the footnote. Funding courtesy of an anonymous donor. Her heart stopped. No, he wouldn't. But deep down, she knew. Ji-Hwan had found a way to protect her future, even if he couldn't be part of it. The realization didn't make the pain less. It made it worse. 2 weeks before final exams, May burst into Naa Ayeley's dorm room. "You need to see this," she said, shoving her phone into Naa Ayeley's hands. It was a video trending across the university's social media. Ji-Hwan stood in front of the main administration building, a microphone in hand, cameras rolling. "My name is Seo Ji-Hwan," he said, his voice steady. "And I want to talk about privilege, control, and the things we're told to value." Naa Ayeley's breath caught. "I grew up with everything," he continued. "Money, status, a future planned out before I was born. I was taught that these things mattered more than anything else. More than happiness. More than love." He paused. "I was wrong." The camera zoomed in on his face. "I hurt someone I care about because I was too afraid to stand up for what mattered. Because I let fear and expectation control me." His voice cracked slightly. "But I'm done living like that." Naa Ayeley's hands shook. "This is my formal resignation from my father's company," Ji-Hwan said. "Effective immediately. I'll be pursuing my own path. And to the person I hurt." His eyes seemed to look directly through the camera. "I'm sorry. For everything. And if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you were right. That love is worth fighting for." The video ended. Naa Ayeley sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Girl," May whispered, "what are you waiting for?" Naa Ayeley found him on the roof of the media building, their spot where they used to edit footage and argue about framing. He stood at the edge, staring out over the city. "That was very dramatic," she said. Ji-Hwan spun around, his eyes wide. "Naa Ayeley, a public declaration? Really? He looked uncertain, vulnerable. "I needed you to know I meant it. You gave up your inheritance. It was never mine to begin with. It was a cage." He stepped toward her slowly. "You showed me what freedom looked like, what real connection felt like. I'm not going back to that life. Your father disowned me this morning." He smiled, but it was shaky. "Turns out public rebellion isn't great for the family image." Naa Ayeley's chest tightened. "Ji-Hwan, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He closed the distance between them. "Because you were right. I was a coward. I chose the easy path because I was terrified of losing everything." His voice dropped. "But I lost the only thing that actually mattered. I lost you." Tears blurred her vision. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he continued. "I just needed you to know that you changed me. That loving you was the first real choice I ever made. And even if you never want to see me again, I don't regret it." Naa Ayeley stared at him. This boy who'd started as her enemy, who'd humiliated her, who'd broken her heart, who'd also made her laugh, challenged her, seen her, who'd given up everything for the chance to love her freely. "You really are the most dramatic person I've ever met," she said, her voice breaking. Ji-Hwan's expression crumpled with something like hope. "Is that a good thing?" "No." She stepped forward. "It's impractical and reckless and completely." He kissed her. And this time, there was no hesitation, no fear. Just the two of them finally on the same side. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Naa Ayeley pressed her forehead to his. "You hurt me," she whispered. "I know. I'm so sorry. If you ever do it again, I won't. I swear." "You don't make promises, remember?" "I do now." He pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. "I promise to fight for us. Every day. No matter what." Naa Ayeley searched his face and saw only truth. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. Okay." She smiled through her tears. "But you're buying me dinner for the next month to make up for it." Ji-Hwan laughed. A real, bright sound that made her heart soar. "Deal." 3 months later, their documentary won first place in the university's film festival. They stood on stage together, hands linked, as the audience applauded. In the crowd, Naa Ayeley spotted May cheering wildly. Even Taeyong looked grudgingly impressed. Ji-Hwan's father wasn't there, but Ji-Hwan didn't look like he minded. "Want to get ramen?" he asked as they left the stage. Naa Ayeley grinned. "Only if you're paying." "Always." They walked out into the Seoul night, the city lights glittering around them, and for the first time in both their lives, the future felt like something they'd chosen. Together. 6 months later, Naa Ayeley stood in Kotoka International Airport in Accra, Ji-Hwan beside her, as her family rushed forward to greet them. Her mother hugged her tight, then turned to Ji-Hwan with curious, assessing eyes. "So you're the boy who made my daughter cry," she said in English. Ji-Hwan had the grace to look ashamed. "Yes, ma'am. I'm very sorry. And now," he glanced at Naa Ayeley, his expression soft. "Now I'm trying to make her happy every day." Her mother studied him for a long moment, then smiled. "Good," she said. "Because if you make her cry again, you answer to me." "Understood." Naa Ayeley's younger siblings crowded around, peppering Ji-Hwan with questions in rapid Chui and English. He looked overwhelmed but genuinely delighted. Later, as they sat on the veranda eating jollof rice and kelaweel, Naa Ayeley watched him laugh with her family, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him in Seoul. "You okay?" she asked quietly. Ji-Hwan turned to her, his smile soft and real. "Yeah, I really am." And looking at him, this proud Korean heir who'd given up his empire to choose his own path, who'd flown across the world to meet her family, who loved her with a fierce and quiet devotion. Naa Ayeley realized something. They'd both spent so long fighting to prove they belonged. But here, together, they'd finally found home. A year later, Naa Ayeley graduated top of her class. Ji-Hwan was in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. He'd started his own media production company, focused on telling immigrant stories across Asia. It was small, scrappy, nothing like his father's empire. But it was his. And Naa Ayeley had joined him as a partner, using her scholarship and savings to invest in their shared dream. They had an office the size of a closet. They worked 18-hour days. They ate more convenience store food than was probably healthy. But they were happy, building something real, something that mattered. One late night, as they edited footage in their tiny office, Ji-Hwan looked over at Naa Ayeley. Hair piled on top of her head, glasses slipping down her nose, completely focused. "Hey," he said softly. She glanced up. "I love you." She smiled, the same smile that had undone him 100 times before. "I know. Just wanted to remind you. Consider me reminded." She turned back to the screen. "Now help me with this transition. It's not flowing right." Ji-Hwan laughed and moved closer, their shoulders touching as they worked. Outside, Seoul hummed with late-night energy. Endless, vibrant, alive. And inside that small office, two people who'd started as enemies built a future together. One frame at a time. One choice at a time. One love that had been worth every fight, every tear, every risk. From the boy who'd demanded she kneel, to the girl who'd refused to bow, to two people who'd finally learned that the most powerful thing they could do was choose each other. Every single day.